right, man. How's it going?
Hey, good.
Good.
How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Excited about today's topic?
Yeah, of course.
So I thought what a great person to have this discussion with. And, every time we do something like this, we learn so much more about each other. Like last week, we learned a lot about each other. But this is a topic I always think about.
Mm-hmm.
I know you probably think about it too. And things that have happened in my life that, I've experienced that would kind of lead me to believe something, right?
Yeah.
So the topic today is God real? And I thought we could talk about instances in our life or whatever it is that you're like, wow, God's real.
Yeah.
Because again, it is something that weighs heavy on me sometimes. And growing up Catholic my whole life, Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, everything, you're inundated with it.
It's kind of forced.
Yeah. And you have a lot of questions, as you're growing up, you're just like, I don't know. And there's always people trying to disprove it or say something, or everything in the Bible can be scientifically proved or something, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And so it just makes you wonder. And we talked about this before, but like Jonah and the whale, and you're fine until you need God, and then you seek him out, right? Yeah. And I've tried to and worked hard to have that not be the case. Like I want God to be part of my life, no matter what, good times, bad times. So is God real? Yeah. So I kind of posed a question to you, and you said you had some ideas or some things that happened in your life. And I thought we could kind of just share.
Sure.
You go back and forth and share some things.
Yeah.
And
so one of the first things that popped in my mind was how, the end result was marrying Lori.
Right.
Our story is so unique. We met in the 6th grade at a church thing. I went to school with a guy that went to church with Lori. So at the time we went to different churches, but I met her. She was an annoying little girl. It was some Halloween party or something. And anyway, I just thought she was very annoying. But after that, we kind of started, kind of running into one another.
Right.
And then nothing for a while. But that was the introduction. And this is, to me, this is the way hindsight is always 20/20, or you can look back and always see how God worked things.
Right.
Even if it's not what you thought should happen, you can look back and go, he was driving that. Right. So we met in the 6th grade. We become really good friends, but we never dated until much later. And you know that story, but I think there was purpose that we not be able to date. I really wanted to. I would be dating someone and she wouldn't. Like, shoot, and then she'd be dating someone and I wouldn't.
All right.
Well, all part of God's plan to make it where we weren't quite ready to be together yet. So God had to keep working on it. And then when it was time, my dad is the one, and Lori, long story, we can go into it on some other time, but Lori was engaged to someone else.
Okay.
And did you know that?
I did not know that.
Long story, but we'll fast forward through it. Lori and I were just very good friends.
Right.
She was engaged, and I had decided I at least want to be her friend.
Right.
And I missed my chance. I just kind of went, oh, well, and.
Did you have feelings for her at that time?
I did, kind of coming up to that. I mean, she was dating this guy.
Right, of course.
Right. And so, no,
suppressed
I respected
feeling.
Suppressed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when they became engaged, I said, okay, I like her. I just want to be her friend.
Right.
So strictly platonic. And there are people out there that will argue that to the nth degree.
Right.
But hearing it from me, I mean it. I'm honest. It was a platonic relationship.
Right.
I had put those feelings off. They weren't there. We were just friends. And Lori would come over. Her at that time fiance was at school out of state, and so Lori didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't have a lot of friends. We went to church together. We would go out. We'd go eat dinner together. She would drive her car. I'd drive my car. She would pay for her meal. I'd pay for my meal. So, I mean, it was never anything.
Right.
And one night, she came over to the house all the time. I just watched TV. But she left, and this is the moment, right, where I say this was a God thing. My dad was going to bed, and she had left, but it was just Dad and I. Dad was going to bed, and he goes, "Chris, you need to marry Lori. Good night." And I went, "Okay, Dad, she's engaged." And he goes, "Good night." And he turned the light off in the living room, and I'm sitting there in the dark. Dad walks down the hall to bed, and I just sat there going, what just happened?
Right.
I mean, my dad is like, I'm like my dad, that I need the poster board sign, right? I don't read signs.
Right.
And so I sat there going, if my dad sees something and is so moved to say something to me, it's got to be obvious to other people.
Right.
What the heck is going on?
Right.
So the next time Lori and I went to dinner, we always went to IHOP. I can tell you what she was wearing, what she ordered, where we sat, everything. And we had a book of unwritten rules.
Right.
We just, like I said, drove her car, paid for her own stuff.
Right.
And I decided I'm going to ask, and I said, "Are you sure you want to do it?" Meaning get married. And that was one of the rules. I wasn't supposed to question the relationship, and her eyes went all over the place, and she said yes, and decided in her own mind, he broke a rule, so I'm going to break one. And she said, "You're just jealous." And I said, "Yes, I am." It was a very quiet meal.
Yes.
After that. But it was a few days later that she came over and said, "I don't know that I want to do it." And I said, I can't be the friend.
Right.
I've already told you how I feel. I can't be the friend and give you objective answers. All of mine are going to be subjective.
Right.
So, again, fast forwarding, 13 months later, we were married.
That's it. And this is kind of part of what we talk about, man versus 50, is the journey. And you look back on that now and you're like, oh yeah, it was perfectly laid out by God. And this is exactly what was supposed to happen.
You're right.
But in the moment, you're like, I have no clue. My dad, what's he doing? Like, really? Right. And it makes sense now, but it's crazy how, and this is part of that journey. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, I'm on a journey, and God, this is what his plan was, even though, and this kind of goes back to mistake, regret, and all these different things. Stuff is staring you right in the face sometimes, and you don't realize it. Yeah. And then looking back, it all makes sense, which is the journey so difficult and hard. And I think the value we can bring to young people is that sometimes the face of what something looks like right now isn't necessarily the end game. Right. You got to just enjoy the process. Yeah. No, that's much easier said than done, because going through it, it's a nightmare sometimes, right? Right. So it's amazing to look back, and you have this, like, it just looked like it was perfectly meant to be. Exactly. Now. Yes. But then you're just like, huh? Yeah. Right. Because it makes no sense. She was engaged. Yep. Again, the out of town boyfriend. I love those. And then, yeah. And then I know for the record, I'm not saying, I respected it. And I did. I know, but it all worked out the way it was supposed to work. Exactly. So that's good. Exactly. I mean, that's a good, and it's amazing because, God does have a plan. And I think a lot of times my downfall is I've always tried to control the outcome. Yep. And to be honest with you, it doesn't work well. We're not really good at doing the plan, are we? No. It's always like that Mike Tyson quote, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the jaw. And then it's like, okay, better rethink that. I hadn't heard that. Yeah. So mine's a little bit different. So after all that stuff, which is a perfect segue from the last week about heartbreak and things like that, but after all that stuff happened in Arizona, I had called up my ex-wife told her what happened. We were still friends. And she said, come move to Austin with me. And I had two choices. I could gone back home or taken the opportunity to go to Austin. Everyone's like, oh, just go home, regroup. I was like, I cannot go back there because I'll get sucked into whatever. And this is just not me. So I took her up on it and I moved there. Well, we already divorced, and needless to say, I wasn't high on the friend list of her parents.
Yeah.
And so she told them what was going on, and it caused a lot of problems. But I went anyway. And I remember I had an FJ Cruiser at the time, and I literally donated. I mean, I had stuff from West Elm. I had all this nice furniture. I just literally went over to Goodwill and just donated it all because I just had to get rid of it. I could only fit what I could fit in this FJ Cruiser. That's all I had left. And so I ended up there's a chair that when I was a kid in my grandparents' house that I used to sit in for Christmas. It was in, that living room that you can't touch the furniture.
Yeah.
But there was that chair that it's like this crushed green velvet chair. And it's like the thing I took from the house. It's my favorite thing because I always sat in it. Right. So I had that, a couple other things, clothes, whatever, and drove from Scottsdale 1,000 miles straight to Austin. So I get to Austin and, we're night one. It's just so awkward, right? Because it's like, I hadn't seen her in a while. It's awkward. She has a 1-bedroom apartment. I'm on an air mattress in the living. It was just not good, right? It was tough, but it was my chance to kind of get back on my feet, whatever. So night one goes by, and every weekend she would go to this marketplace on South Congress, and this is before all the development. And they had like independent vendors that would come, set up tables, sell goods. She had t-shirt business that she, did a lot of t-shirts, whatever. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we were there, whatever. And by the time we got home that night, she basically just came to me and said, I can't do this. So I just drove 1,000 miles.
Wow.
To Austin. And 24 hours later, she's like, I can't do this. So I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I had no idea what to do. Okay. So the next morning I get up, I drive down. There was a Starbucks on 6th Street, I think, by the Whole Foods I used to go to. And I went there and I called my friend Lori, who lives in California. And
I remember that. Yeah.
And told her, like, here's the situation. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Just drove 1,000 miles. And she's like, I'll call you back. I'm like, okay. Whatever.
Yeah, sure.
So at this time, you ever had that time in a moment, like in your life where you're there, but you're not?
Yeah.
And you're just like out of body, and I didn't know what to do. Like a million things are going through my mind. I have no clue what to do. So I drove down to South Congress to Joe's Coffee. I got coffee. And at that point, college is it's just packed. I mean, the streets were packed because kids are walking up and down all these people. South Congress is a very busy street. Yeah. And I'm just walking up the street and just lost. Like I can see people and hear noises, but my brain is in la la land, right? And I'm walking, and all of a sudden I feel somebody touch my chest, like put a hand on my chest.
Really?
And I'm like, I'm like, I thought maybe somebody just bumped me passing by. And I look down and it's this like scraggly long hair homeless guy. And he looks at me and he goes, everything's going to be okay. Insane. So
wow.
It almost makes me want to cry, but it was insane. And I just stood there and then I turned around. It was gone. I couldn't find him. It was gone. And right after that, my friend Lori called me. I picked it up and she said, hey, I talked to Garrett, my husband. we want you to come live with us. And we have a guest room, come live with us, whatever. So I went home, packed up my stuff and drove from Austin to San Diego, moved into her guest bedroom.
A whole lot faster just to go from Scottsdale, but
would have been a lot faster. Yeah. And drove San Diego, moved in with her and kind of regrouped. I mean, it was like the lowest time of my life. You know what I mean? And I just was like self-talk all the time. You can figure this out. You can figure this out. You can figure this out. And like, I was there for like a month and then I get a call from a publisher that wants to publish the book. And then things started happening. I moved to LA, back to LA. It just like all these things started happening. But in that moment, it really made me keep pushing because it's like, okay, somebody's watching over me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was such a profound moment in my life and so many things happened and changed. And I can look back on that now kind of like you and say, yeah, that's exactly how it was supposed to happen. But at the time it was going on, it's one of those times in my life. I don't know if you've ever been through this where just getting out of bed every morning is difficult, you know, and you're just like, I would just rather just lay here and not do anything. But I remember like I couldn't. And then like a week I was just in bed. And then finally went online. I bought some free pass to Gold's Gym and I'm like, I got to get out of here. And so I just started working out every morning and just going back in my stuff together. And then after that, you know, it just kept going. But, you know, God put all those people in my life and all that stuff to happen. You look back on it now, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It was still difficult.
Well, and when we're in that drudgery, you know, that you can't see the forest because of the trees type thing, we still have to keep going because we have to do our part. I mean, God's got the plan, but expects us to keep moving. Like, and in your case, you got to get out of bed.
Yeah.
You gotta keep going.
Yeah.
This is stopping the plan.
Right.
Just being stagnant.
Right. And, you know, a lot went through my mind, like where I was a year prior, what my life looked like. And now I'm basically homeless in a guest room in my friend's house. So life can change quickly.
Yeah.
But, you know, I had to rebuild, reinvent, do all the things I needed to do to get back in the game of life, you know. That's not easy. And some people don't succeed at that, or some people give up, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think that moment on the street just kept me going.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. And, you know, there's like a miracle that happened to me. And it just, again, reiterated God's real to me, you know, and this topic is very personal for both of us because not everyone has these experiences. And, you know, someone once told me like, God's talking to you all the time. It's just whether or not you're listening.
Are you listening?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so it's, again, and I think if someone looks back on their life and story and journeys, they can see places where God showed up. And it goes back to, you know, that poem Footsteps, you know, where at the end, he's like, God, through the hardest times of my life, there was only one set of footprints in the sand. And he's like, because that's when I was carrying you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So you had another.
Yeah. It's a work thing.
Okay.
And this is the most recent that you're very familiar with, but I had been at a job for 7 years. And for me, that was an eternity, because I started in the hotel business. Every 2 to 3 years, it was fine that you move to another hotel company. That's just kind of the industry.
Right.
I mean, certainly people stayed longer than that, but it wasn't a negative on your resume if you had been at different places. But moved over to where I am now, and so been doing that for 7 years, and was very comfortable. Liked the people I worked with. You know, it was nice.
Right.
And then our company merged with another company, and it didn't feel good, but I thought, no, it's just change. And I'm not big on change. Right. So it's going to be fine. And then we got a new owner, and I know it sounds a little weird, but you know, we have the we were third-party management at this point, right? So we didn't own the property. We just managed it. Well, the owner was not someone that I wanted to work with, right? So, all right, I'm going to find me something new. And my team, we all talked about this, and it was, hey, I think we should all kind of be ready to make a move, get your resume updated. And we did. And within a 12-month period, all 4 of the core group at the property, we were all gone. Right. I mean, that's how bad it was. But we all found things. I mean, I prayed, and all right. So, man, like this, I got an interview, and it was with this great company. And I had, my mentor was like, man, if you can get in there, go. Take a pay cut, take the pay cut. This is a great company. So I go in, it was a pay cut, but I took it. I'm like, that's great. Oh man, what an opportunity. 30 days later, they are no longer owner operator. They merged with another company, and now we're third party managed. And I went, what in the world? So not only was it not exactly what I wanted from a operational, standpoint, but the team that I was working with, I think God put me there to prepare me for the next step, where I thought that was the next step, and it was, but it was the next step to get me to where I am now. And it's that same thing. You don't, in the moment, you don't understand what is the plan, Lord. Drop me a little note here and let me know. So I work with some really difficult situations that were hard on me emotionally, physically. I learned and was reminded how not to manage. And so I'm literally sitting there praying, going, God, I prayed for you to get me out of that situation. And I feel like you've just put me into, frying pan to fryer. I don't understand. Please reveal what is going on. And for months, nothing changed. All the while, he was moving pieces that I didn't know anything about. I took that job in December of whatever year it was. So in December, and it was the following September that I took the job that I have now. So that was last year, right? So in December, the job that I currently have didn't even exist. That company didn't even have that position. My boss that I work for now wasn't even with that company yet. Right. So there were huge pieces that had to be moved around that, again, I didn't know anything about. So I'm praying to God going, look, why don't you just let me drive? Because clearly,
you don't know what you're doing.
You don't know what you're doing. Right. So give me the wheel. Right. So I kept crashing into the walls, and I'm finally like, you know what? I'm going to quit trying to do this myself. Lord, handing it back to you. I'm sorry I took it. It's yours. And over, again, several months later, it wasn't overnight. It wasn't, I didn't wake up tomorrow and go, oh, here's a new job.
Which the journey is never that way, right?
No,
doesn't happen instantly.
But again, like you mentioned, you look back and you go, oh, well, it makes total sense.
And we talked about that because we talked about that middle job was a total bridge job.
Absolutely.
Just to get you to this job.
It was to get me out of that.
Right. And not miss a paycheck. It really, actually, it was a blessing.
It was.
But it wasn't the end game. It was just needed.
A place full of.
It was her ex-fiance. He had to get out of the way. And then, all this had to happen. So, no, it's amazing. Again, it's easy to look back on it.
And what I have now is it's a promotion where what I had taken was a lateral move and a pay decrease. And this is, again, I get this job and you've probably done it. And I know the people that are watching are thinking the same thing. We get there and go, sorry, God, I didn't mean to, to push back. Thanks. I'm sorry I doubted you.
Right. No, and it's part of our human nature, right?
Yeah.
So, Yeah. And I'll tell my last story before we wrap it up. But, again, Austin, I don't know. That's why I go to Austin all the time, because I have encounters with God in Austin.
Yeah.
So it's after all this has gone on and I'm in LA, I'm doing all this stuff. And then finally I'm like, okay, I loved what I did. I'm ready. I'm at a point where, I need to get back in the real world and do some things. And so I moved back to Austin, and I, again, was trying to figure it all out. What am I going to do? Because my background was marketing and advertising in the newspaper industry, and that industry just completely, went away, unfortunately. But so I'm back in Austin, did the book thing, did all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, now what? And I went through this. I was struggling a lot just to kind of figure out where's my place, but I knew I wanted to be back in Texas. I knew I wanted to, California was amazing, but I know I'm from Illinois, but Texas is my home, And there's a winery I go out to all the time in Dripping Springs, and it's amazing for those people who haven't been there. You're in Austin, it's a city, and you drive 20 minutes and you're in the hill country, and it's amazing. So I'm out there one day. I used to go to this place by myself all the time. Just sit. It's so beautiful and quiet and peaceful. And on a hot summer day in Texas, the sounds of, the insects and this, and it's just beautiful to me. I love it, and some people say, oh, it's so hot. I don't care. It's just beautiful to me. I love it. So I'm there and I'm praying, because it's one of those places you just can meditate, detach, pray, talk, and praying to God. I'm like, listen, you've put me through so much ups and downs and crap. Like, what am I doing now? Like, here I am back in Austin. I have no clue what I'm doing. Like, what is your plan? And I go, you know what? I need you to show me you're real. What? So I look back, I'm like, huh? So I'm like, just give me a sign. Just something that you're real. I don't care if it's the lightning, the this, whatever it needs to be, just show me something. So there's this like long, windy road that you kind of walk through the vineyard, and then you kind of keep going. And there's like a place to get married, a wedding, outdoor wedding venue, but it's just very like you're out in the middle of Texas. You know what I mean? Like that feel, kind of dirt, rocky road, you're just walking. And I'm walking and I'm looking at the trees. I'm like, what's the sign going to be? Just prove to me that you're real. Cause I don't know how much more of this I can take, know?
Okay.
And I'm walking and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I like, really, like, this is ever going to, like, I'm challenging God to prove himself that he's real. Like, so I'm just like, that's fine. And I'm walking, and the road ends, and there's this chain link fence, and you just come to the end, and that's it. And I'll put it up on screen. And I come, the road is dead end into this chain link fence. And I just walk up to it, getting ready to turn around. And on the middle bar is a perfectly lined cross. Like, amazing. It is literally like someone went in and drew a cross on the chain link fence. And I saw it. It was literally at the end of the road where I was walking. I hit it. The cross is there. And I was like, okay. And
wow.
I went home. I buckled down. I said, I'm going to knock this out. I got my real estate license quickly. Ended up getting the job back in Houston at the place we met.
Yep.
And the rest is history. And I wore this tattoo here is that cross that was on the fence.
Very cool.
That's what that is. So,
cool.
And I always have it right there to remember that moment where, where are you? Come on. He's like, okay, I'll give you something.
Yeah.
Even though he's given me already so much, it's sometimes, and that's like the Jonah thing, man, sometimes you just need a little something.
Yeah.
And, that was my little something. And it's amazing knowing that, how much like adrenaline and energy it puts in your body saying, okay.
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not alone. I got this. Even though I'm completely alone, I'm like, I'm not alone. I got this. And, so those moments and things you talked about, just, I know people have them and maybe they don't realize it or look back on it, but miracles are happening every day and unexplainable. We just don't know. And things happen in my life. Things have happened in your life. And it's, one door shuts, another one opens, and it's just somebody's opening those doors, but someone has a plan. And man, sometimes just show me the plan.
Yes. Please
just show me the plan. And then sometimes I don't want to know the plan because I'm like, how long is this going to last? But somehow it always works out, right?
Agreed.
And I think as long as you keep believing and
gotta have faith.
And gotta have faith, and it's funny. We always had this debate when like, what's God look like, or what did Jesus look like, or what? People are like, I'm like, when you close your eyes and envision whoever you're talking to or praying to, that's what he looks like, and that's who he is.
Yeah.
And I think that your beliefs and your way of faith and worshiping is different than mine. But at the end of the day, we're still kind of like, hey, there's a higher power that plays a part in our life.
Agreed.
And I think for me, in summation, in conclusion, God is real.
He is.
And I think for people who question and wonder that, you might want to take a step back and look at the story of your life. And when you can't explain something, or man, I'm so glad I did this instead of that, you think that's not God. So, hopefully this message got through to some people and they'll take a step back and realize. All right. I appreciate it, man.
Got it.
Thanks for watching Man vs. 50 with author Richard Maloof. Don't forget to subscribe.